fun fact, I filmed this video 3 times. Not 1, not 2, but 3 times. So I'm just saying, if you're not going to thumbs up this video for any other reason, can I at least get a thumbs up for persistence? Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Faye. Thank you so much for stopping by and checking out today's video. I really hope that you enjoy. If you do, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up. Also, be sure to subscribe to my channel down below. You can click on that red button and it'll add you to my fam here on YouTube. And also make sure that you turn on your notifications so that you're notified anytime I upload a new video. So for today's video, I'm bringing you guys some hot fire. And I'm going to be sharing with you guys a very, very, very affordable dupe for a very, very, very expensive eyeshadow palette. And that eyeshadow palette is going to be the Natasha Denona eyeshadow palette. So I'm sure you guys have heard of the brand Natasha Denona, but if you are like me, you may not actually own anything from her brand because it is very, very, very expensive. One of her eyeshadow palettes is like $130, and girl, that is like a car payment. That is like gas, water, electric. That's like... So naturally, when I found a dupe for one of her eyeshadow palettes, I wanted to jump on here and share it with you guys because I am all about saving those coins, and ain't nobody got time to be spending all that money on one eyeshadow palette. Now, of course, it ain't tricking if you got it. So, you know, like if you got the coins and you want to spend and treat yourself, treat yourself. But for me, I'm treating myself on a much smaller scale, so it's a no for me. So yeah, I'm very excited to be sharing with you guys an eyeshadow palette that is very inexpensive, but in my opinion, still a great dupe to the Natasha Denona Sunset eyeshadow palette. And it is going to be the Bad Habit Solstice eyeshadow palette. Now this particular palette is going to retail for about $16, which $130, $16, it's not really a hard choice in my opinion. And I wanted to do a video for you guys demoing this eyeshadow palette and showing you guys these shades in action, just so that you can have a pretty clear picture of how the shadows perform. And then at the end of the video, of course, I will give you my opinion and my thoughts on whether or not I think it's worth your coins and whether or not I think it is, you know, a decent eyeshadow palette in comparison to the Natasha Denona eyeshadow palettes. But this is what the inside of the palette looks like, and I will also include like a side-by-side comparison for you guys so that you can see what the Natasha Denona eyeshadow palette looks like and then next to what this one looks like. The shades in this one may be somewhat in a little bit of a different order, but for the most part, they are the exact same shades, and this is the look that I created using nothing but this eyeshadow palette. So I want to just jump right into this video with you guys, so I'm going to go ahead and cut the intro. And yeah, if you guys want to see how I created this eyeshadow look and a demo on this eyeshadow palette, then you guys know what to do. Please keep watching. Alright, so I've got you guys zoomed in, and as I mentioned in the intro, for today's video, I'm going to be sharing a little demo on the Bad Habit Solstice eyeshadow palette. So this is what the palette looks like on the inside, and I'm just going to be showing you guys a quick little eye tutorial using the colors out of this eyeshadow palette. Now, I have learned about myself that whenever I try to do a talk-through tutorial, my makeup looks don't come out quite as good as if I am just focused and like zoomed in or zoned in, I guess is what I'm trying to say, on what I am doing. So I'm actually going to cut to a voiceover of what I'm actually doing so that I can actually focus on what I'm actually doing. But I do already have my eyes primed. As you can see, I just used my matte Lay and Low paint pot right here, per usual. And I just set it with a neutral matte face powder, setting powder, just to kind of help neutralize my eye area and give us a nice smooth base to work with. So without further ado, I'm going to stop rambling and let's go ahead and get into the demo. So first up, I'm going in with the shade Spring. This shade is a matte peachy shade, and I'm just applying this back and forth into the crease. This is not going to show up too much on my complexion, but I'm really just using it as a transition shade and just buffing that back and forth with a fluffy blending brush. Next up, I'm going into the shade Equinox. I'm using the same brush, and I'm just going to buff that a little bit lower in the crease. This is going to act again as a transition shade, but we're just kind of starting to build up and deepen those shades a little bit. So I'm focusing this mostly on the outer V and then starting to buff and blend that into the crease as the shadow starts to wear off a little bit. Next up, I'm going into the shade Earth, and I'm taking this on a more tapered blending brush and focusing this more directly in that outer V and in the crease. So as you can see, I'm just buffing that back and forth a little bit lower in the crease. And then I'm going to go over all of that with a clean blending brush. This brush doesn't have any product on it, but I'm just using it to blend all of the shadows together just to make sure that everything blends smoothly. So next up, we're going to start to deepen up that outer V. I'm taking the shade Dusk, which is a really nice, warm chocolate brown shade. First, as you see, I'm patting it on the outer V. And then what you'll see me start to do as a little bit of that pigment starts to wear off on the brush is I'll begin to start to blend it into the crease. I don't want to take this shadow too far over into my inner corner or the inner part of my eye. I really want to focus the majority of that shadow on the outer half and the outer V of my eyelid. And then I'm going back in and just blending everything together. So next up, I'm going to take a little bit of Too Faced Shadow Insurance. I'm picking this up on a flat shader brush and using this to cut the crease. I love this product because it really helps shimmer shadows to show up nice and pigmented. So I'm just going to apply that and then blend it out with my finger. So once I've got that blended out, I'm going to go back in with a little bit of that Dusk shade and really use that to blend out that transition. And then for my first lid shade, I'm going to be picking up the shade Twilight. Now as you can see with the first swipe, it's not as pigmented as I thought it was going to be, but here with the second swipe, you can see that it starts to become a little bit more pigmented on the lid. And that is because I did add Fix Plus for the shimmer shadows. And I'll talk about this a little bit more in the later part of the video, but I did notice that the shimmer shadows performed a lot better and applied a lot more smoothly when I added Fix Plus. So I'm just going to apply this right on the center of the lid, right up to the crease, and blend it into that shadow on the outer V. So for the inner third of my eye, I'm going in with the shade Dawn, and this shade is gorgeous. Again, I did apply Fix Plus to get the shadow to show up really nice and smooth and pigmented, but as you can see, it is absolutely gorgeous. So I'm just applying that on the inner third of my eye and working it into that Twilight shade. I really want a nice, beautiful gradient from light to dark on my lid, so I'm just doing a lot of blending in between each shades and applying that right up to the crease. And then last but not least, to finish off the eyes, I'm going to deepen up the outer V with the shade Eclipse. And I'm just applying that literally just on the outer V. I'm not bringing it too far onto the lid, but I just want to use that to deepen it up just a little bit. And then of course, I'm going to finish off with one final blend through the crease to make sure that there are not any harsh lines. Okay, so this is what the eyes are looking like so far. And just a quick little update on the eyeshadows. As you guys saw, the mattes blended out to perfection. They are very pigmented, very beautiful matte shades, and they blend out really easily. They're very easy to work with. Now, the shimmer shades, I'll be honest, they did give me a little bit of trouble because they are a little bit crumbly and they do have a lot of fallout whenever you place your brush into the shadow. And also when you apply it to your eye, they don't really come off as pigmented with just the brush by itself. But I did apply some MAC Fix Plus, and as you guys can see, these shimmers are stunning. MAC Fix Plus with these shimmery eyeshadows literally took them to the next level. It made them super buttery, super smooth. They apply with little to no fallout on my eye. And as you can see, they are super pigmented and vibrant and just absolutely gorgeous. So I'm gonna go ahead and add my lashes and liner and my face products, and then I'll be back to finish up the lower lash line. All right guys, so I'm back. I've got the rest of my face on with the exception of my lip. I'm gonna go ahead and finish up the lower lash line. So to start, in my waterline, I'm going to use the Tarte Skinny Smolder Eyes pencil. This one is in the shade Sunstone Bronze, and it's basically just like a really nice bronzy shade. I like to use this pencil whenever I want something in my waterline, but I don't want to use black. Like, I don't want it super, super smoky, but I do want something a little bit darker than my natural waterline color. So I'm going to go ahead and apply this in my waterline. And I did kind of let that just rub down into my actual lash line a little bit also. And next up, I'm going to go into the shade Dusk, which is this shade right here. And I'm going to apply that right up against my lower lash line to blend out that liner. And then next up, to get rid of that harsh line, I'm going to go in with the shade Equinox, this one right here, this orangey shade that we use in the crease, and just blend that right underneath that brown. So next up, I'm going to take a little bit of the shade Dawn, which is this shade right here. It's the same shade that we used on the innermost portion of our lid, and I'm going to apply a little bit of that on the inner corner of my lower lash line. And then finally, for my inner corner, I'm going to use the Maybelline Master Chrome Metallic Highlighter. This one is in the shade Molten Gold. It's also the same highlighter that I have on the rest of my face, so I'm just going to bring that all together and highlight my inner corner with that as well. And then I'm also going to finish off my lashes with some mascara. Alright guys, so this is the finished look, and for those of you guys that might be interested, the lippy that I'm wearing right now is a mixture of a couple of different things. So I did go ahead and use MAC's Cork lip liner, which has become one of my favorites for wearing nudes and neutrals on my lips. And then I also mixed together two satin lips from ColourPop. I applied the satin lip in the shade Tansy first, and then I dotted on a little bit of this one, which is the ColourPop Times I Love Sedae satin lip in the shade 951, and I just dotted that on my lips and then blended it out, and this is the lip color that came from that. I'm obsessed with it. You guys know I'm all about my nudes, but this video is not about my lip color, so let's go ahead and get back to the palette. So as I mentioned, this is what the look is looking like. You can kind of see it all together with my full face done. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, this is my third time filming this video, and honestly, each and every time that I filmed it, it got a little bit better every time. So I feel like this one, I really perfected this particular look and really learned how to work with the shadows in this palette, at least the ones that I was using. So as I mentioned when I was demoing the shadows, the mattes in this palette are absolutely stunning. They're very pigmented. They blend like a dream. That's a really awkward way that I'm holding this palette. I don't know why I'm holding it like that. But yeah, the mattes in this palette, they blended out like a dream. They were very pigmented and they blended together really nicely and blended into each other really nicely, which was really, really nice. Why do I keep saying really nice? The mattes were really nice. Now, the shimmers that I used the two shades Twilight and Dawn. And you guys saw in the demo, those were a little bit harder to work with on a dry brush. But once I added a little bit of Fix Plus, I was in love with them. So that would be my recommendation for you guys if you are dipping into at least the shades Twilight and Dawn, which were the two that I used. I would definitely recommend using some Fix Plus for those shades to get them to really bring out all of that pigment of the beautiful colors that they are, and also to help them to blend onto the eyes really nicely and smoothly and seamlessly without kind of crinkling and falling all over your face. Now I will mention that this palette does have quite a bit of kick up or fallout, just meaning that when you dip your brush into the shadows, a good bit of eyeshadow dust if you want to call it that, kind of comes up out of the pan. For me, it wasn't anything too excessive, so it wasn't a huge deal for me. I personally don't mind a little bit of fallout in an eyeshadow. To me, I feel like that means I'm getting some product on my brush. I would much rather that than having to really dig into an eyeshadow, but I also don't want excessive fallout. So I didn't find that this palette was excessively having a lot of just shadow falling everywhere. It didn't make a mess on my area where I was working or anything like that, but I did want to mention that when you dip the shadow into, or when you dip the brush into the shadows, you will see a little bit of fallout. But overall, as far as whether or not I would recommend this palette, I would definitely recommend this palette to you. Now, as I mentioned several times throughout the video, I do not own the Natasha Denona eyeshadow palette. I probably honestly will never purchase it because I just cannot justify spending over $100 on one eyeshadow palette. And I don't find that going over very well trying to explain that to my husband. So I probably will never have the opportunity to own any of her, well, I won't say never, never say never. But as of right now, your girl is not purchasing those eyeshadow palettes. So the only way you will see me having my hands on them is if someone gifts it to me. But I would say for this one being a dupe and being in comparison to those palettes and the reviews that I've seen on those palettes, I would say that this one can definitely hold its own in comparison to a $130-ish palette versus a $16 palette. I think that is definitely worth every bit of the $16. And if you are really into those warm shades and like those warm kind of smoky eye looks and just warm shadows in general, which is right up my alley, you guys already know that, then I would definitely recommend this eyeshadow palette to you. I think it is worth every penny. So if you're interested in picking it up, or if you're interested in checking out any of the other products from this brand, I will have a link to this particular eyeshadow palette down below in the description, as I always do with products that I mention in my videos. So it'll make it super easy for you guys to get over to the palette and check it out if you're interested in purchasing it. Also, I do have a coupon code with the website that sells this palette, which is shophush.com. My coupon code is Fayy Lenee, so I will have that on the screen somewhere as well as down below in the description if you would like to use that code. And yeah, I think that's pretty much all that I have to share with you guys for today's video. So I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed, now is the perfect time to go ahead and do that. So definitely be sure to click the subscribe button down below, and I will see you guys very soon in my next video. Bye.